Hi everyone. Today I'm excited to talk to you about my portfolio project on sales and finance analytics for Atlic Hardware. This project is not just about building a dashboard, but it is about solving an operational bottleneck. Further, it creates a governance system to protect the company's margin. Moving ahead, so let's just talk about the topic that we are going to cover in this presentation. We are going to first start with the problem statement, then we will move on with the business analytics side of the project. Further, we will cover the data modeling and data analysis. Then we will talk about reporting that I have created. It is followed by the scenario planning tool for deciding the customer discount. And finally, we will talk about the business impact of this project. So as can be seen here, that what kind of problem faces by Atlic. Generally, Atlic hardware faced the classic data silo problem. As a result, different departments were using disconnected Excel files, leading to multiple versions of truth. Subsequently, it is intricate to see where actually growth derived from, why targets were being missed. So, this is creating a lot of chaos amongst the department. Further, the sales manager complained about the time they have spent to decide the customer discount, and they have to fact check a lot. So these are the two main problems that we are gonna look in this project. Now, before moving on, let's talk about the company for a bit, so that it makes more sense to understand the project. Adlic Hardware, it sells electronic hardware such as printers, keyboard, PCs, laptop, hard drives, etc. Now, Atlic manufactures and sell it globally. It sells through in exclusive stores through website, then through brick and mortar such as customer like MediaMart, BCC, and other e-commerce websites such as Amazon and Bull.com. And where Atlic is not able to sell directly, they sell it through distributors. Distributors generally they sell it on behalf of your company because of some government rules or some other things. Your products are not directly allowed to sell in the market, so they sell it through distributors. So until now, we talk about the problem what Atlic faced and the business model. Now let's just talk about business analysis side. I realized I couldn't start writing formulas. I had to build foundation first. So we operated in agile environment for this project. And because of our requirement, we constantly evolving. We choose Kanban specifically because it allows us to manage a continuous flow of the task rather than being locked into rigid 2 week sprint. So first talk about what is RACI metrics. So I started with RACI metrics to map out who actually owns the decision. RACI R means responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. This meant finance controller owned the logic and I own the building things. No more confusion, no more repetition of the work. So RACI metric sounds like corporate jargon, but it is actually all about we decide who owns what. The Mini-BRD. So I treated this as our contract of truth. We define exactly what success looked like before a single cell was formatted. This prevented that endless project filling. Then KPI dictionary. So again, when we sat down, we defined our vocabulary, such as what net sales is all about, cost of goods, gross margin percentage, target variance. When we say gross margin, what does that actually mean? That we lock down the math so that reports would be bulletproof and trusted by everyone. Finally, we did user acceptance testing or validation. I sat with the actual users here while they tried to break the tool. So in our case, the finance controller. Once the finance controller gave the final sign off, we know the tool wasn't just a fancy dashboard, but it's verified business asset ready for the real world. So as you can also see the real agile dashboard here on the Jira software that we talk about. And Kanban is really helpful because there is a when you are assigned a task, then you can be see assign, then work in progress, then it goes to the test, and then it applies in the production. Now moving on the data analysis and data modeling side. On the technical side, I took millions of rows of raw and messy data and cleaned it through a proper pipeline. I used ETL through Power Query. I find it very user friendly as it navigates all the steps. I focus on the grain of the data, making sure we could look at the performance by country, by month, or by individual customer instead of looking at who buys the most, we looked at the things like payment reliability and margin. It's the difference between the big customer and profitable customer. As you can see here, the data model, and in the screen it is star schema. As we can see, it creates the star like shape, where in the middle there is a factable, and it's surrounded by dimensional tables. Now what I have used here to analyze the data is for ETL power query, so that I can navigate all the steps and going back to the where original data I get it from. The data model, for data model I use pivot table, power pivot. So in power pivot, it allows us to create a data model for making reports and design, that is also through power pivot. And yes, most importantly, to calculate the measures and the table which wasn't available in the original data, but according to the requirement of customer performance analysis, market performance versus target, profit and loss by year, gross margin percentage by quarter and subzone, and some ad hoc analysis. I really need to measure some, I need to really create some measures and other also create some tables as well. And for that I use data analysis expression, which is also called dasks. Now this comes the heart of the project. So when we look at the report, I didn't see just, or I just didn't want to create a static set of tables. My goal was to build a hierarchical diagnosis system. I wanted the leadership at Atlic to be able to move from a bird eye view down to the street level of a single customer in just few clicks. Here is the logic behind three main reporting pillars. So when you started looking on the left hand side, you can see the net sales performance, and at the same time on the next year you can see the market performance versus target. And for that, so sales and marketing, the logic was variance and accountability. So instead of total sale, I build performance versus target. The logic behind here is to focus on the gap between where we are and where we plan to be. The report automatically highlight the exceptional through conditional formatting. So it makes management to track down the overperformer and underperformer. For profit and loss, the other side you can see again here on the left hand side and the bottom, that the logic was to margin integrity. Now, in the cascade of profit and net sales through cost of goods down to the margin, due to this, the team is able to see where profit being lost. Is it volume problem or scale problem? Or is it a cost problem? So, and when you're working in the project, then your business manager or your product owner, sometimes it comes with a lot of requirements, and those requirements could be a divisional based or country based or any scenario based. And for that we need dig down as per their query and as per their requirement. We really need to go more deep and mine some reporting so that they can represent on that manager. And that is, we call it as ad hoc analysis, that is for more product growth or division trend kind of analysis. So on the right hand side we can see in terms of the year, and also you can see the quarter here and top 10 products here. So these are the ad hoc analysis of the report. Moving ahead here, and this is, I would say, a star of the project, because the satisfaction that I got from creating this platform is just simply outstanding. So we are now talking about the as I said, star of the project. I didn't assign this task initially, but while flexing my hands on the Excel, I was given this opportunity and I have created this tool. So instead of fact check a lot, finance controller now can choose customer and relevant product they wanted to buy, then assign the parameters such as forecast discount they want to offer, cost of goods, average price for those selected products, and gross margin target. Most importantly, I have created three case scenarios. So in the best case scenario, if we sell, let's say, 100K unit or 100,000 unit, then with assigned sale, would we be in profit? In realistic, even if we manage to sell a 50% of what we anticipated, would be still making some profit. And in worst case, if we sell only 30, or if we manage to make only 30% conversion compared to the forecasted unit sale, are we still in the profit? So if it doesn't make any profit while in these scenarios, it signs red for here in the bottom versus target, as you can see the last parameter. And that particular red signal, it gives, or it raises early flag to the finance control, which they can take effective steps on. on it, and then make decision about the customer discount. And finally, what is the business impact of what we did here? As you can see, the reports are based on the pivot tables that we made, data model from Power Pivot, and as you can see, the scenario tool which decided the customer's discount, also making some scenarios in best, good, or the worst case. So we didn't just save 10 hours a week for the finance controller to after making the scenario tool. We gave those hours back to the team so that they can actually convert those decisions into a strategy. We got a 2.3% margin dip early. So when we identify early dip 2.3% margin, that protected our profit and at the same time moved the entire company from I think to the data source. That is how I bridged the gap between the data analysis and the business strategy. And for more detail about this project, I would insist you to take a look at on the GitHub that I just provided the link here. Thank you so much for the watching out this and follow this project. And I hope that you get some valuable insight out of this project. Thank you so much for the listening.